Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Super Action Statue Kenshiro figure from Fist of the North Star. I know this is one many people were very excited about because Fist of the North Star is one of those anime that I think everybody should watch. I'm not sure how to categorize it. It's either the worst good anime or the best bad anime ever. I don't know, but it's definitely something you should watch. It's very entertaining despite its inherent problems. And Kenshiro is one of the cooler characters, even though he's kind of like the worst character. He's like, anyway, you'll watch it and you'll see. But this is one I know a lot of people are interested in, myself included. The fact that it was coming from Super Action Statue, basically the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure line of figures, I think had a lot of people pretty excited because they're known for some really nice things. Also known for some really bad things. So we'll see how much of that carried over and how much of this is new stuff. So lots to talk about here. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 7 inches to the top of his head, which makes him pretty close to, we'll say just shy of 18 centimeters. That's close enough. And just to give you a little bit of reference, here he is up against an SH Figure Arts Goku. Not really scalable, I would say. But if you wanted to, I guess with the right posing and right display configuration, you might be able to make something kind of work. But Kenshiro here is pretty big. I don't happen to have any of my JJBA figures to show you a comparison with. I'm sorry about that. You can check the heights though in their various reviews. Alright, before we get into this, let's go ahead and do a question of the day. Basically the same thing I said earlier. Is Fist of the North Star a really good bad anime? Or is it a really bad good anime? Which one do you think? Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the aesthetic. This company is known for packing in all kinds of detail and paint, and they definitely did that here. We're going to go ahead and zoom in pretty tight just so that you can see all of the little wrinkles and rivets and zippers, and everything's painted very cleanly, sculpted very cleanly. You can see his muscles are sculpted and shaded and painted. He's got his little scars in there. The face is very nicely done. The eyes are packed full of detail. The face is sculpted well. He's supposed to have that kind of blank look on his face. That tends to be how he looks. Extra detail in the armor, more muscles. The anatomy is very nice. The detail in the wraps, very clean. Just loaded with all the detail you would expect from the Super Action Statue line. No issues there at all. The details are great. Would I have preferred he have a bigger chest and shoulders? Yes, but I think this is perfectly acceptable for an action figure. And we'll get into the shoulders a little bit more as we go through the articulation. But from an aesthetic standpoint, I think they nailed it. I guess some people aren't happy that it's as metallic as it is. Take it or leave it. I mean, I don't mind. I never really thought that he should be metallic, but it doesn't look bad. It looks all right. And this is more of his leather look rather than his denim jacket look. So I think this is okay. I think it looks pretty good. The metallics that are on there are done well. I think aesthetically they nailed it, as is usual for this company. Aside from the shoulders looking like crap, but we'll get to that. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 for the aesthetic. They did a really, really good job. There's shading throughout everything. It's excellent. Alright, now for the accessories, which is another thing Super Action Statue figures are known for. He does have the 2 fist hands that come out of him on the package. We have the pointing finger hand, a karate chop hand, a relaxed hand, and then 2 of his style pose hands. You should be able to accomplish pretty much all of his poses. I would prefer to have a couple of grapply looking hands just to throw them in there, because why not, but it's not necessary. We do have an alternate head. You saw the kind of neutral / blank look, and then we also have the one where he's yelling. I wouldn't have minded a little bit more expression in the eyes because this looks a little bit weird, even though he's known for being fairly stoic and melancholic. I wouldn't mind a little bit more expression there, but still it's really good. And then for his effect parts, we do have the 2 multi-fist parts that just replace with one of his hands, so they peg in right to his arm. That's pretty cool. Then we also get the single swooshy punch, which is the official name for it, and it is also very nicely done. They do a great job with effect parts, and these look wonderful on the figure. And then lastly, we have a display stand, which is just incredible because nobody's including them anymore with their figures, and they don't cost anything. It's just value added for the customer, and they can easily absorb that kind of price. Like, we're talking $60 to $80 figures on a lot of these imports. A stand that costs them 50 cents, they can include that. This company does, so I like it. For the accessories, I'm going to give this guy a 9 out of 10. I don't think there's much more they could have given us other than a couple of extra hands, maybe, you know, something like that, but it's a pretty good batch of accessories, including the effect parts, which go a long way. Time for the articulation. Will it be any good? The JoJo's Bizarre Adventure figures have some great articulation and some terrible. Let's see how it works here. For the head, we are on a double ball peg. Now, unfortunately, the balls are very small. And really, on a figure like this, you want big balls. If you want them to be functional, you need big balls. They are almost the same size as the peg, and it's fairly recessed in both areas, so the head is fairly limited. Good thing is the neck is on a ball peg. It doesn't give you a ton of range, but you will be able to get some extra range and some extra natural, organic posing out of that. But because of the way the head is, you really can't move it on the neck at all. The hair comes down really far. It looks good, but posing is going to be fairly limited there, which is definitely a bummer. For the shoulders, they did the worst thing you could do with shoulders. Well, we'll get to that. First, we have a ball peg that lets the whole arm move around in the socket. That's normal, that's fine. But they made the giant sculpted shoulders, the big flat meat flaps, and then a little tiny ball hinge. So he just has a giant cavacious gap in his arms. And the arms actually go over the clothes, which makes 0 sense. They should have just done a traditional shoulder like this. I mean, this is a crappy little figure, but you get the idea, where the shoulder is part of the joint. It looks so much better and it functions better every single time it's not ruined. This is always ruined. You cannot make this as good as a regular shoulder. Yeah, sure, you get the range, but you get the range anyway, and you don't have a big, flat, gappy, goofy looking mess right there. And the arm doesn't go over the clothing. This is just the worst thing you could do. You can still have the sculpted shoulder. Just work it into the joint. This is not good. This is never good. I like that they put this on a ball peg so you can move it around and it gets out of the way mostly, but the shoulder sucks. The shoulder definitely sucks, and it's even more noticeable on this side because you don't have a big shoulder pad to hide it. And that is also where you get your bicep swivel, which also sucks. Luckily on these guys you do have your double jointed elbows, which can give you an extra bicep swivel in there. However, these joints are known for getting stuck and breaking, so be very careful, but you do get a bicep swivel if you want it. So the elbows are good. Not the best looking things in the world, but they'll get the job done. Wrists are on a ball hinge, which is pretty much standard. Again, these joints are very finicky, same as the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure figures. They tend to have a little bit of extra flashing on the pegs that go into either part, so when you twist them, let's see if I can find an example. One of them was doing it. All right, that one's working. One of them was twisting when I tried to, oh, maybe I loosened it up. Anyway, you can split the joints, so be very, very careful as you're twisting the arms. If you're spinning any of the ball hinges, be careful. That's all I'm saying. All right, for the torso, we have a ball peg, which moves around pretty well, especially for a super action statue. It's a little gappy, but it does work nicely, and that's pretty good. For the lower torso, another ball peg. Not a ton of range, but you do get more, and you're going to get your rotation between the two of those, no problem. He actually does have a floating crotch, though I don't know how useful that's going to be on this guy. They did change up the way the hips function, so that's pretty cool. You can get the legs out to the side, almost all the way full on splits, and really what they changed up is just their efficiency in engineering, because it's the same type of, it's just a ball peg, which can work just fine. Like, that's how I'm designing my figures. A ball peg can work just fine, you just have to know how to do it, and they did a very good job. You can bring the leg up all the way forward, it's not even too gappy. It works just fine. He can kick, no problem. I mean, obviously that's not a pose, but yeah, you can make him do any kicking you want pretty much, so that's good. You do get a thigh swivel in there. Oh, that's feeling tight. Be careful, you hear that slip sticking? This guy might need a little PTFE powder or a little bit of shock oil or something in those hips. That's a little distressing. It's very, very sticky. Thigh swivel works nicely. Double jointed knee works really well, better than 90. Could be a little better, but it's still pretty good. And then for the ankles, they're fairly loose and not great as far as range goes. They don't go forward at all, they go back a little bit. You get a little ankle rocker out of it. Not good ankles. Toe joint is stuck on both feet. So it's basically the same thing that you would come to expect if you collected any of the SAS JoJo's Bizarre Adventure figures. Some of the articulation's really good, some of it's not good at all. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's really not impressive for the price point, but you're paying mostly for the sculpt and paint and accessories, which is, you know, like I said, if you are familiar with the JJBA figures, that's what you should be expecting out of this line. And that's pretty much what it is. They did do some things better though, which is pretty cool. So, final verdict on this guy, it's expensive, you get good accessories and good sculpt and paint, but the articulation is definitely weak. So I'm gonna give it only, The price is what's hurting me here. I'm gonna be generous and say 8 because of the paint and the accessories. And 8 is still a solid score, but it is so expensive that I don't want to have loose ankles, sticky hips, and jacked up shoulders. So there it is, guys. Let me know what you think about the figure and what you thought about the review by giving it a thumbs up if you liked it, or a thumbs down if you didn't. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.